Her smart ring logged peak activity while I was on night shift. The night the graph betrayed us, I was on my second cup of vending machine coffee, the kind that tastes like a dare. The logistics center hums differently after midnight, forklifts moving like considerate animals, scanners making tiny laser sighs, my team speaking in clipped murmurs as if sound might break the fragile truce between schedules and reality. I was explaining to a new hire why pallets behave worse when they know you're tired when my phone buzzed with a notification from the shared health app my wife insists is cute accountability. Lena's smart ring had logged peak activity, 22 min at 0041. Her heart rate chart looked like city skylines, spikes, dips, a little plateau that could have been applause. I stared until the numbers stopped being numbers and became posture. Lena had texted at 21:19, early night, book plus bath, kiss you before dawn. I had sent a photo of my fluorescent-lit empire in reply, captioned, same. The graph did the job you never want data to do. It returned my faith with an error code. I told the new hire to take 5. In the office, I stared at the ring logo like it might confess. The activity could have been anything. Jump rope yoga, a very enthusiastic attempt at opening a stubborn jar. The app showed room temp elevated, which was either a glitch or a haiku. I pressed the home camera feed out of reflex and watched our hallway hold its breath. Nothing moved, which, if you've ever loved someone who is clever, means nothing was moving where cameras were allowed. I ended my shift early, something I do twice a year, and always with the same nauseous cocktail of guilt and righteousness. I drove home through streets that thinned out like excuses. Our building's lobby smelled faintly of citrus and the kind of ambition people wear as cologne. At the elevator, the night porter nodded the way you nod at a man who looks like he's about to decide something permanent. Inside our apartment, the kitchen was clean in the suspicious way of places that have just hosted chaos. 2 wine glasses air-dried like evidence. A dish towel hung straighter than religion. The bathroom smelled of eucalyptus and a candle struggling with its own confidence. In the bedroom, Lena slept on her side, one hand under her cheek, the other splayed over the empty half of the bed, as if she'd been keeping a place warm for a thought she wasn't ready to have. I watched her breath for a minute, the way you watch a tide you love for proof that it won't betray the moon. Then my phone buzzed again. The smart lock activity log. At 00:19, the door had opened with a temporary code. At 00:58, it had opened again with the same code, closing 2 minutes later. I keep temporary codes for the dog walker we don't have yet and the contractors we never call. The label on this one was blank. I crept back to the hall. The code history showed an origin, generated by shared household guest. I do not remember sharing my household with a guest. My jaw began to do small, ancient things. I could have shaken Lena awake like a villain in a cautionary tale. I could have stepped into a fight and called it love. Instead, I went to the balcony with a blanket and the smart lock settings. The city below was a smudge of soft gold, the bridge lights turning the river into a necklace that keeps choosing new throats. I changed nothing. I slept badly for 90 minutes, sat up when the ring alarm chirped 06:30 and pretended to stretch. Lena padded into the kitchen in my t-shirt like a forgery of our good days. She kissed my neck. Her breath was mint and apology. "You're home early," she said. "Pallets behaved," I said. "Our marriage has always been in the top percentile for plausible sentences." Over coffee, she told me about her book, A Brilliant Mess, her bath too hot then perfect, and a dream about a childhood friend piloting a boat through an indoor mall. She spoke with the lightness that lives right next to panic. I asked about her ring. She glanced at the screen I had conveniently left face up and smiled. "I did a hit video," she said. Those 20-minute ones where the woman in pink keeps clapping for you. I looked at her mouth and remembered every time I've watched her lie to a stranger to get out of a meeting. Charming, efficient, kind. At 0041, I said gently. I couldn't sleep, she answered gentler. She touched my wrist like you quiet a dog. You know how I get. I nodded, because sometimes being right is the worst thing you can be before breakfast. At 9, she left for work in a lemon-colored dress that had made the shop girl tell her she looked decisive in spring. I sat with the empty mugs and the ring graph and my worst habits. Then I did something I'm not proud of. I texted Dasha. Dasha is the bright red carnation stuck behind the ear of every good scandal. She is Lena's friend, confidant, co-conspirator in campaigns that make meaningless objects briefly essential. I asked if she'd had a late night. She sent a photo of her shoes on the couch with the caption, "Murdered by heels." Then a second text, "Why?" I told her I'd had an odd notification. She replied, "Ah, then, can you meet me at noon, Atrium, sit near the fake olive tree?" The Atrium is a cafe that survives on perfect light and beautiful people doing admin in public. Dasha wore black in that way good women wear black when they are about to disappoint you thoughtfully. She did not waste either of us. "He's older," she said. "He's generous in that way men are when they decide you're a museum." "How many nights?" I asked. "More than once," she said. "Fewer than always." "What's his name?" She wiped foam from her lip with a gentleness that felt like a favor to the cup. "Marco," she said. "He restores pianos. He makes everything sound like a salvation he invented." A piano restorer. The universe writes better metaphors than I do. "Where?" I asked. Dasha smiled without pleasure. "Here and there," she said. "Sometimes the river sweets at the Mirador. Sometimes your house when he wants to hallucinate a future. Sometimes the rehearsal room at the conservatory when he wants to remember he was once poor." "Temporary code," I said aloud like a detective on television. Dasha nodded. "He's polite," she said. "He hates keys." I should have been furious at a man who hates keys. Instead, I felt the complicated ache of someone recognizing an enemy who shops where he does. "Does she love him?" I asked. "She loves not asking permission," Dasha said. "She loves wanting something without writing a plan. She loves that he smells like wood and ruin." I thanked Dasha for being cruel and correct, and walked out before we started excusing ourselves with childhoods. Outside, the day had the good manners to be gray. I texted Lena, "Dinner out, somewhere where the forks clink." She replied with a heart and the crossed fingers emoji she uses when she's hopping "I'll be the brave one." I called the Mirador and asked for a piano to be tuned in a river suite. My company sometimes rents the ballroom. I know which levers to flip to look like a man ordering a service. The concierge, a soprano trained to sell sincerity, said, "Of course, Mr. Kovac." She gave me a time, 19:00 Suite Delta. "Our technician will arrive with his own tools," she added like a euphemism. At 18:30, I let myself into Suite Delta with the charm they give you when you pretend to be production. Blue Hour wrapped the river in a silk that made me believe things briefly. I dimmed the lights and opened the grand. I tuned nothing. I broke the symmetry of the room with my presence and waited. At 18:56, the door opened. Marco walked in carrying a canvas roll of tools and a posture that said he knew how to be careful when it benefited him. He was handsome the way patience is, lines where smiles happen, hands that have learned the exact pressure that produces sound from wood. He froze when he saw me. Then he did the thing men like us do when silence is the only dignified option left. He nodded. "I booked the room under my company," I said. It seemed simpler than staking out my hallway. He set the canvas on the lid and unrolled it without looking away. "You called me here to fight?" he asked. His voice had a grain in it, like floorboards from a rehearsal room. "No," I said. "I called you here to tune a piano." He blinked. I lifted the fallboard. He took out a wrench and a strip of felt like a priest laying out the implements of a sacrament. He struck A4. He listened. He turned. The note moved, obedient. I watched for a while. "What do you love about her?" I asked finally. He did not pretend not to know who I meant. He struck a unison and listened to its wobble the way a good liar listens to himself. "She looks at the world like a critic until she decides to be the audience," he said. "Then she laughs with her whole mouth." I wanted to hate him. I liked the answer. "What do you want from her?" I asked. He turned another pin. The string sighed. "Permission not to be a good man for 40 minutes, he said, "and to be forgiven for wanting permission." The room did the small tilt well-appointed rooms do when someone tells the truth without warning. I stepped to the window and looked down at the water performing eternity. "She has a smart ring," I said, "because I'm an idiot who places faith in measurement even while measuring my own ruin. It told on you." He smiled, rueful, skilled. "It told on her," he said softly. "We were careful until we decided to be brave." "We?" I asked. He met my eye. "You don't get to be careful with a woman like that and keep her," he said. "You get to be chosen or you get to be safe." I thought of our couch where we curated our evenings like a gallery of mid-tier pleasures. I thought of my project plans, affectionate as lullabies. I thought of Lena in that lemon dress, bright as a decision. "What do you think I should do?" I asked him, hatting myself a little. He struck middle C. It rang true. "Ask her what she wants," he said, "and be prepared to hear both." At 19:14, the door opened again. Lena stepped in, stopped, took in the scene as if reading stage directions with a headache, and closed the door with the care of someone who has ruined more expensive things. She looked at me, then at him, then at the piano as if it might offer a neutral third opinion. "So this is theater," she said. "This is tuning," Marco said softly. "This is both," I said. She laughed once, a brittle sound I'd heard only when her mother calls. Then she walked to the bench and sat. She put her hands on the keys and pressed a chord she doesn't know the name of and that I felt in my teeth. "I didn't want to choose like this," she said, eyes on the fallboard. "I wanted to be noble and evolved and therapeutic. I wanted to be a fire alarm. Instead, I was a man. I saw the ring," I said. "I saw the lock. I saw my own patience asking to be replaced." She looked up. "Do you still want me?" she asked, the question a scalpel. "Yes," I said. It came out like a field report. I cleared my throat. "Yes," I said again, this time like a request. She looked at Marco. "Do you?" she asked. He put his wrench down. "Enough to leave," he said, and the surprise on my face must have been obscene because he laughed without humor. "I never wanted to be a hobby," he said to me, "and she isn't a place you visit." He rolled his tools, tied the canvas, and stood. "I won't be the ghost in your house," he said to Lena. "If you want me, you'll call me and tell me the truth you've finished choosing." He touched 2 fingers to the piano, led the way a man touches a forehead at vespers, and left. The door clicked. The room exhaled. We were 2 people and a piano, which is 1 person more than some marriages can handle. "I hate that I loved him for his exits," Lena said, almost smiling. "He leaves like a man who rehearsed being good at it." "What do you want?" I asked, and put my hands in my pockets so I wouldn't use them to argue. She looked out at the river. I want to stop auditioning for my own life, she said. I want to be reckless at home. I moved to the bench and sat beside her. Our thighs touched like a treaty. 30 days, I said. No codes, no concerts, no smart rings doing PR for us. 30 days where we practice saying the things we only say to mirrors and other people's doors. After that, if you still need a piano technician, you call him. If you don't, you call the man who will carry your books and ask for your mouth without writing it in his calendar. She laughed then with her whole mouth, and it broke me the way relief always does. "And what do you put on the table?" she asked. "Heat," I said. "Now, not eventually. Risk, not presentations. I will fail in front of you so you don't have to go find someone who lets you." She turned her face and kissed me. It wasn't cinematic. It was specific. Eucalyptus and regret, the lemon dress's whisper, the astonishment of realizing how much I'd missed her tongue when it arrived without a script. We didn't undress. We didn't perform. We kissed until the room stopped being a room named Delta and became a place where two people had finally said the unsayable before it turned to rust. When we pulled back, her forehead rested against mine like a vow. "I'll call him," she said, "and tell him no." She smiled, small and complete. "Not because you asked, because I'm done belonging to minutes we can't use together." We left the piano open, a mouth waiting for a song we hadn't learned. Downstairs, we walked along the river, the city doing its complicated mercy. At a kiosk, we bought hot tea in cups that couldn't quite handle it. We didn't hold hands at first. Then we did. That night, the smart ring logged restorative sleep, 8H3M. The graph looked like a reasonable hope. We unshared the app. We renamed the smart lock codes like a joke we would understand later. We didn't forbid pianos. We moved ours into the living room, a Craigslist upright that had held jackets more than music. We booked a lesson with a woman named Svetlana who told us to stop punishing our hands for not being brave yet. The next Tuesday, I came home early with cheap wine and bad pasta and desire I didn't save for holidays. We fought over nothing, then made out like forgiveness was a sport. Later, in bed, Lena rolled onto me and said, "Want me now?" "Not always." "Now." I said yes like I was choosing to live. Do I trust her? I trust us to say the thing before it turns into a door. Sometimes, when the ring catches the light on her finger and I feel my chest tighten, I kiss her shoulder and remind the ancient animal in me that peaks are only dangerous when you pretend valleys are failures. A week after the Mirador, a package arrived addressed to both of us. Inside, a small felt strip and a note in careful handwriting, for muting the wrong strings. I showed Lena the note. She smiled, then tore it in half and used the felt anyway. Svetlana showed us where to wedge it to quiet the notes we kept scolding. The chord that had hurt me most now sounded clean. We are learning how to be loud and quiet on purpose. The ring still counts steps. The lock still keeps time. The river keeps being a cliché that earned its job. And when I look at the graph that almost undid us, I don't think peak. I think practice. I think a room where we tuned the future like an instrument we were suddenly willing to play with both hands.